just working inside.
Did you go on our website and try to watch it?
This is so funny because I've been looking to get a new car.
Oh, you're buying a new car?
Oh, my. I have fast.
No, we gotta fix it.
Could he to come do
I
it?
just don't believe it.
Yeah, we have to.
Explain how we do it.
Huh?
I
Yeah,
have
that's
to
good.
plan.
I think we have it now. There's sound.
You have it? All right, it was that button again.
All good?
Okay, we're good.
Okay, so will everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you and welcome, everyone. There are a number of announcements that you can read in the agenda, but I did want to call one out in particular. Our longtime Deputy Clerk Pandemic is retiring at the end of February, and so we wanted to wish her good luck. Okay, at this time we're open to the public on agenda items only. Yes, please. Come up.
Okay, this is, because I know you're,
Would you come on up to the mic? That way folks at home can hear us.
not known for speaking softly.
Oh,
I'm
that's
not-
okay.
Anyway,
Just tell us that you're
Frida
a resident
Ralph.
and yes. Thank you.
longtime resident of East Amwell. I know you're going to be hiring a new deputy clerk, and you're talking about salaries and everything else, and the historical preservation, whatever it's called, that I'm alternate on, has needed a secretary for a year or more, and for one night a month, you've got to attract somebody and to tag that on with maybe the newest somebody, one of the other
Do
secretaries.
you know anyone that's interested? 'Cause
No.
we've been putting feelers out to try to get a secretary, and we've not had luck, I know.
No, but what I'm saying is if you're hiring people or raising a thing, why can't you just add one of those? It's one night a month.
Because we don't have people interested.
Because you don't what?
Have people interested in the position. So it's not a funding issue, it's that we don't have folks who are willing to do it. So again, we put the word out, you asking tonight I think will help get the word out there, but you have to beat the bushes. so
Right,
you
well,
get
the other thing would be to maybe suggest that, that some of the boards do Zoom and stuff, and where we could have somebody that was hired to just sit at home and listen to it and take the minutes. I don't know. Anyway, that was what I was
Okay, appreciate it.
here to
Thank
say.
you.
And Frida, we were kicking that, I know what you were saying about the deputy clerk, we were kicking that idea around too, if
To
we could
some
do
of the
that or
people
not.
that are already on other,
If one of the members of the Historic Preservation Committee would like to become secretary, they could do that too. But, yeah, I mean, I think as we said before, if committees want to go to Zoom, if it's easier,
right, yeah.
that's okay too, but,
Yeah, yeah.
I know Historic Preservation Committee, it's been hard to find somebody,
Yeah,
but we're trying.
And it was like, I couldn't even open the minutes on my computer this time because the person who did it the month before didn't use the same format that Will does, and whatever he sent me didn't open, and so I was like, oh, well, because,
Yeah.
anyway, it's just confusing, and it's really pretty easy because you could just tape it on your iPad, your phone, or whatever, and then write it down. I don't
Sounds
type
like you
very
know what
well.
to do, Frida, if you
Well,
want.
I'm gone in the wintertime.
Sounds good.
I shouldn't be-
Zoom, you suggested Zoom, you're all
Zoom-
set.
So thank you for that offer, I appreciate that. And know that, I did a little format on Microsoft Word and gave it to the RVAC committee because, the minutes really can follow the same format. You can list who's present, and then when you just have an item, you can have the action item colon, and then just summarize quickly what happens at the meeting, so, anyway.
Yeah, we use a template, so
Yep.
it is easy
Makes it
to do,
easier, right.
but we've been switching from member to member doing
Right.
it because no one wants to take it on. And they just keep saying,
Well,
find someone.
rotating sounds good. If everyone does one
Is
each
there a way
night.
to put this stuff in AI yet? Like you just take
think
the
so.
recording and put it in AI?
Yeah.
There has to be, right?
Yeah, the problem is the whole meeting you don't want recorded, right? It's just the
Okay.
bullet point,
Right.
it's discussion of blank and here's what we resolved to do. So, but someone could dictate that. that's what I do with notes too,
And
is
it's
pick
just
up
a
your
little
phone.
bit of, sending out the agenda, sending
Right,
out
right,
the
right.
minutes if someone
Right.
needs to do that. So it's just those tasks that the chair is doing now and he
Well,
doesn't
we've
really
suggest,
want to.
Right, well, we've suggested to the chair, I mean, if you set up a little blast, email, and you put the names of all the members on there, like in Gmail, for example, you just go to that and and send it to committee, and it goes to all those people. So anyway, we're doing our best because
Yeah.
folks aren't coming forward.
And somebody possibly needs to help Will, because he's in his 80s. He's not up on all the latest stuff. Somebody could help him get it set up. That's other than just that. He's the chair.
Appreciate your comment. Okay, other comments from anyone? Yes.
Frances Gavigan, 30-plus years now. Will you go into some detail on what the correspondence from Hillsborough and the changes to their master plan are? If it's the Amwell Road section, if it's Wurtsville Road, where the parks are and things like that, because they're adjacent and people will want to know what the impact is. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
I don't know if anyone's seen that or looked at that yet at this point.
I have not looked at it.
Okay. All right, so we'll appreciate the mention. We can take a look.
Linda, is that uploaded to the public, the correspondence?
Is the correspondence for the master plan for Hillsborough?
No, for the, I'm assuming Francis is wondering what correspondence we got.
The correspondence is on the website.
Yeah.
Attached to the meeting center. It was a
That's
public hearing notice, I believe.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna tell Francis, it is online, because you upload all our correspondence if she wants to read it, yeah.
It's in the meeting folder for tonight.
So any idea as to when this hearing is or anything like that?
I can get you the date.
We
I
can
don't-
look that up. It's probably in
I probably-
that
I may have it.
correspondence, so
I
we'll
may
look
have it
back
here.
to that. Okay, let's move on to the minutes in the meantime, but we can get Francis to answer that. Oh, yeah, also,
I do.
please. Thank you.
Andrea Bonet,
Andy.
a longtime member of the Sauerland Planning Council. No one from the current Sauerland Planning Council staff could be here tonight, so I just said I would make it very short. I'm going to quickly read the letter that you've all got from them, just so it's on the record. For the first time in 20 years, the state of New Jersey is updating the document we all know as the state plan, formerly the State Development and Redevelopment Plan. A draft of the new plan was released in the fall. While the Sauerland Conservancy was hopeful that the updated plan would designate the Sauerlands as a special resources area, or under the new terminology, an area of critical state concern, the draft does not include this designation. Instead, the Sauerlands are listed among the areas that might be considered for this designation in the future. Given the urgent challenges facing the Sauerlands today, including the emerald ash borer, beech leaf disease, overbrowsing by deer preventing forest regeneration, invasive plant species, and development pressures, we believe the time for action is now. The Sauerland Conservancy has been partnering with nonprofits, municipalities, businesses, and residents to address these challenges. Together, we are restoring the region's ecosystem health to mitigate climate change impacts, reduce flooding, filter clean air and water, provide critical habitat for wildlife, including 57 state-listed threatened and endangered species that depend on the Sauerlands for survival. To date, we have planted over 50,000 trees in the Sauerlands. Unfortunately, the New Jersey Forest Service estimates we are losing more than 1 million. The Sauerland region is a vital resource for our state. The Watershed Institute estimates that more than 800,000 residents of New Jersey and Pennsylvania rely on the Sauerlands for some or all of their drinking water. The designation of the Sauerlands as an ACSC would not only acknowledge the critical role this region plays, but also unlock additional funding opportunities for forest restoration and enable the adoption of more effective deer management policies at the state level. To strengthen our case, we are formally requesting the inclusion of the Sauerlands in the plan as an ACSC in our response to the draft, and we respectfully ask that East Amwell Township join us in this effort by formally endorsing this request. And I would just like to point out, I don't know whether you guys have ever seen this book. There should be several of them on the premises here because it was published in 2005. It's very important, and I know that Jennifer Bryson has a lot more copies in her barn. And just very quickly, it's got big sections that were written by Frank Banish, and DNR Greenway, Stony Brook Watershed, and the main sections, and then I'll stop. First part is a conservation and open space plan for the Sauerland Mountain region. Second, a natural resource inventory for the Sauerland Mountain region. Third, evaluation of groundwater for the Sauerland Mountain region. Fourth, built-out analysis of the Sauerland Mountain region. And the last one is comparison of state, county, and municipal planning documents, ordinances, and Board of Health ordinances. So maybe Linda, or I don't know who's good at looking around for things, but there ought to be several copies of this.
And could you just tell me the name and author of this so that
It's called the
It could be on
Smart
record.
Growth Planning and Management Project for the Sauerland Mountain.
okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Andrea, appreciate it. As everybody knows, I'm a big supporter of the Sauerlands region and protecting the resource, and I'd suggested that the Conservancy, support a designation of a special resource area, so I'm glad that they are supporting that. As part of the work for East Amwell, I've been meeting with the county on the cross-acceptance process and told them from the outset that we strongly believe that the Sauerlands region should be called out as a special resource area in the plan. And I reiterated that last week when I met with the county. The county is, as part of the cross-acceptance process, collecting all of the input from all of the municipalities in Hunterdon, and will then present those to the state. So I also coordinated with some other municipalities who have likewise gotten on board for asking for the same thing. And as everybody knows, tonight we are also we have before us a resolution to do the same thing. So I think something that's very important to do to preserve the rural character of our community and the special resources that we have in the Sauerlands region. Any other comments, members of the public, before we move on? Seeing none, going once, twice? Okay, with that objection, we're closed to open to the public segment. On to item 7 on the agenda, approval of minutes. First, let's take the December 12, 2024 executive and regular meeting minutes. Do any of the members have questions or issues with those? Okay, let me ask also about the January 6th, 2025 reorganization and regular meeting minutes. Any questions or issues with any of those? None? Okay, so at this time, I'd ask for a motion to approve all of those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Abstention, none. Okay, item 8 on the agenda, special discussions. Cleanup day is up first. Mike, if you'd present on that.
So thank you. If you guys remember last year, we talked about not having the cleanup day. It cost quite a bit of money for East Amwell. So we kind of didn't do it last year. We've been asking, I think you put it out like 2 months in a row now, Linda, on trying to get at
We
least 1 month.
discussed it in January, so right after that meeting, I put out.
And in my understanding, you had about 22 people respond. That was a direct comment to you, or that was on a Facebook post?
A little of both.
Little both. So about 22 people interested.
And some called the building too.
You have the numbers handy on what it costs us? You have that?
I think it was like 4,500.
40. So it costs East Salem about $4,500 to do the bulk cleanup day. And what am I reading? Oh, this is all the years here. And we bring in about $1,890. That's from charging residents. It looks like in 23, 52 people used the cleanup day. In 22, 61 used the cleanup day. In 21, 69. In 20, 77. 19, only 37. But it seems to be, it's been trailing off the last several years. Probably because there's other resources out there for this cleanup material. So tonight's conversation amongst the committee is going to be, do we want to spend the $4,500, and assuming we're not going to get that kind of response, that we're going to make it back this year? Is this a service that we want to provide, even though it's a losing dollar amount, or do we want to continue to push it off another year? So I'm open to hear some feedback on that, but I still would suggest that local garbage companies will take your material. for the same, if maybe a few more dollars. I'm not sure. I know I've used my local garbage company to take big items, and it's been $50 or $75 for a couch, and that's kind of what we charge here. So there's dumpster bags at Home Depot that cost maybe $3.50, but you could fill a yard or so. There's a transfer station in Clinton and Annandale that I believe is open to all county residents and maybe and beyond for some kind of fee, maybe free, I'm not sure. Does it give you fees on here? The transfer station in Annandale is $22 per carload, $32 for a van, SUV, and pickup trucks. So if you fill up your pickup truck, it sounds like it's $32. That information is available easily on the web. Jenna just pulled it up, anticipating I was going to bring that up. I guess it took her about 10 seconds. So this is something I've been working on, talking to the recycling folks, and just in general discussing this. My recommendation is not to do the cleanup day this year, but you know, you guys can talk amongst yourselves. Anybody that's here want to weigh in on that? I think there's other avenues, and the numbers have been going down, and it's an expense-free Stanwell, and we know that every dollar penny matters. So I think that I'm going to recommend we don't do it. Anybody?
Well, let me see. Any members of the public wish to be heard on that? Give us any input. Okay. I'm seeing some thumbs down. Yes. Ethan, did you want to speak on that?
I mean,
Come up if you would, just so we folks at home can hear you. Yeah, thank you.
I mean, if it helps any the decision, the squad would definitely help at cleanup day. If it brings in people, we're willing to help as a point, because we do our clothing drive as well. So to bring people in to provide a drop-off point there, if that would bring in extra
So I think so. The squad was doing a clothing drive at the cleanup day. I guess. So there's definitely opportunities to continue that, like on the regular first Saturday of the month.
Yeah.
And then we're also, I believe, we're going to supply like a scrap metal cleanup. The free part of these services we're going to continue to supply. I think this month is electronics, which is free for us and for the residents. A resident volunteered to do scrap metal pickup, so we have that as a free service. But I appreciate the volunteers. I think the staffing we're covered. We're in pretty good shape on the staffing. It's just, do we want to spend $3,000 loss to continue to run this? And
it's just
but no, I appreciate that. That's helpful for sure. Thank you very much,
He
though.
failed to introduce himself right in the interview.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean for the record,
Ethan Stanley, I'm part of the
Okay.
squad.
Thank you,
Ethan.
Ethan.
Thanks, Ethan.
Linda, you said 22 people got in touch?
22 people
22.
responded.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we had reached out to see if there was a burning desire of folks to do it, because even despite the numbers, but 22's not that
Not
large,
much.
right?
Yeah.
So,
I agree. I mean, Hunterdon County, I brought, my old gasoline and motor oil there last December.
Right.
So, although the line was long, it was free.
well,
Where
maybe
did you get the flyer for that, by the way? Is that our flyer? Did we make that up? I
For
had to look up
the-
one of the words in there.
For the electronics,
Yeah.
Leo sent that to me, I think. Leo or Rosemary? I think it was Leo.
The one about the decaying dead animals. Did you read that flyer? I still looked it up.
Wait
I
a
still
minute,
don't
that
know
was
what
on the electronics flyer?
I believe so.
What does that have to do with electronics?
well,
It's decaying.
well,
So,
on,
Look it up.
Yeah.
on this issue, I'd
Let's
say.
go back to this one.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to me that your recommendation is a good one, Mike. I don't think we don't seem to have a huge need right now, and we could always do it next year if folks have that. And in the meantime, you've mentioned a number of ways folks could do it if they need it. So I would prefer to save the taxpayers the cost of that, since it just doesn't seem to be that big, and folks can let us know if they want us to change or do something different.
Yeah, I think
going
there's
forward.
plenty of outlets out there, and I think that we're going to continue, maybe quarterly, every 6 months, do the electronics, right? Because there seems to be a need for that. That's a free service that's provided by a company. Hazmat's done through the county a couple times a year, I think, maybe quarterly. I understand it's pretty busy, but it's done by the county. It's not something
Yeah,
we're
if they
involved
do
in.
that.
And then there's plenty of other resources to get rid of your furniture and junk.
Mhm.
So I think that, we should stay away from that this year. And like you said, next year, maybe look at it again.
All right. Well, if
I just wanted to put on
too, so we're clear, from like 2014 to 2023 is the most recent numbers we have. We consistently had about 60-ish people throughout those years. I mean, it fluctuated a little bit, but that was consistent for the last like 10 years. And we consistently lost at least anywhere from like $1,500 to $3,000. So, I mean, we were always operating at a loss. So it's not like it only changed the past couple of years. I think it's consistently that number of people with consistently that loss. So, I agree with everything Mike said and the rest of the committee about. I don't think we should do it either.
And then to make it into a business where it breaks even, you're talking about an astronomical number to pay somebody. Somebody would have to pay. So it would almost be not fair to them.
Well, let's do it by way of motion, then we'll take yours as a motion. I'll second that. So all in favor of not having cleanup day this spring?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Abstention, none. Okay, that's fine.
And if there's a
Appreciate your
burning need,
research,
we can revisit it.
No, exactly.
You know?
That's right. If we have a need, we can always adjust. Okay, on to grid yard. Grid yard.
That's you too.
This is me again.
Yeah, it's you. Lucky you.
Grit yard's a little more complicated than cleanup day. It's something that we've been, that's kind of changed for us the way we do business because of the new stormwater management plan. Mulch, we give it away if you come pick it up yourself. They sell it for a small trucking fee expense if it's going to be delivered. Our understanding from the new stormwater management plan, we can no longer store the mulch on our property without applying for a very expensive permit and without doing some upgrades to the grit yard. The numbers, I believe, when we spoke about this back, I think it was at the end of the year in December. And don't quote me because I don't have it in front of me, but I think the permit was like $25,000 plus additional fees throughout the year. We were looking at around $12,000 addition. So I think we quickly moved off of that. Because that's a huge expense to add to the budget. Working with Jason and DPW and our current stormwater management company, we came up with some suggestions so we could still supply a service, but it won't look exactly the way the old service looked. Right now, the grit yard is open basically from 7 a.m. till 3, Monday through Friday. Maybe they get there a few minutes later. And then every other Saturday, the first and the third Saturday of the month, it's on-manned, it's on staff. And people come and drop off their mulch, their brush, several things that maybe don't belong in that pile. We would typically gather a pile, and eventually Jason would have it ground up for a cost of about roughly $12,000 is what it costs to grind a pile. We would never make the money back on selling the mulch on the trucking fee, but it was a service for the residents to get rid of their brush. With the new stormwater management issues, the direction that makes the most financial and economical sense after working and looking at a bunch of different plans. So we don't stop the service completely, but it'll have to be significantly scaled back. And what I mean by that is the times and the items that we can take. So we can still collect the brush as long as it's specifically brush. In certain size tree limbs, but nothing else. No flower plants, nothing, no weeds. It has to be clean brush, so it gets a little bit complicated. The only way that I could see to do that reasonably would be to staff it with a DPW member, a professional, one of our paid professionals. Jason feels that there's some time during the week, although they have other stuff to do, he could still probably designate one guy for an afternoon once a week. And then we could look at a Saturday. We would probably have to pay the staff member, obviously, his rate, overtime rate, to come in at least one Saturday a month. So you're looking at a cost of, use round numbers, $150, $200 for that overtime once a month. That what would happen there is why we would need the staff member rather than a volunteer, because we need somebody to turn people away should they bring stuff that doesn't belong in the pile. If the stuff gets in the pile that doesn't belong in the pile, it's going to be an additional cost to East Amwell to get it trucked out. So we'd be looking at a dumpster service. Jason will build 2 bins out of like what they call Jersey barriers, like concrete barriers. You see them at landscaping supply houses where they keep their mulch or their topsoil or their stones. And he would build them the size of like a 20 or 30 yard dumpster, so folks would fill that with the brush. Once that gets filled, he would contact the carting company who would come and pick it up. We would load it into the dumpster for them, and it's about a $600 fee to cart away that dumpster. How many dumpsters do we need and how often we need it, that's an unknown. But even if we estimated once a month carting it away, even if we estimated 2 dumpsters a month, that still keeps us at the same $12,000-ish that we're spending now to grind up the pile. So that's kind of how we started working in this direction, to supply the service, but it's going to have limitations on it. We talked about many
And
other
Mike,
things.
before you go on, this would be no grinding, right?
No more
So
grinding,
we would
no.
just essentially be like a brush transfer station.
Pretty
We would
much.
drop it,
Yes.
we would reload it, and we would pay to dispose of that.
We would pay to dispose of it, right? So
Okay.
we'd still be supplying a service to the residents that they're used to, but not as many hours available because we can't afford to pay
Yep.
or designate a DPW guy to work that from Monday through Friday. We just don't have it, the people. Is it a perfect situation? No. I saw no appetite or desire to spend the $25,000-$30,000 plus to go with the permit system. I'll get to you, Frida, just one second. I didn't see any appetite or desire for that. Plus, if the state of New Jersey's making us require a permit to do it, it tells me they don't want you doing it. And they could look at fining you and things like that if you don't comply with what you need to comply with. So I don't think East Amwell should be in the business of doing that. We're not a landscape supply house. We want to supply a service to the residents, which also there are services available, right? In the private sector, they could still call a tree company to haul their stuff away, or any landscaping company can probably haul it away, or they could take it to the transfer station themselves. But I don't want to recommend to not provide the service at all. I think stepping down to this service for the immediate future and see what happens is economically sound, because it's not going to cost us any more money, and it still doesn't take away a service. We talked about East Amwell buying a dump trailer, maybe Jason loading it and carting it off himself, but there's still going to be a tipping fee. The dumpster seems to be the most economically sound way to do it. Are there unknowns? Sure. How many dumpsters? How many people? There's no way to know, right? We don't know.
Well, I guess on the volume part of it, if you have Jason set up, 2 areas.
We're calling them, bins is what we're calling them.
So 2 bins out of Jersey barricades. I mean, we would know that.
Once it's full, it's full.
Yeah, then you'd have to wait till the next month. So
Right.
at least that way you'd know that's your volume, and that could tell us whether the volume is greater than that, whether it's a cost the residents want or don't want, or a service they want or
Right.
don't want. So that's, I appreciate the investigation. That it makes a workable alternative. Questions about that?
And there
before
would
we
be
open
always
it
somebody
up?
from Public Works there, right?
When it's
monitoring.
open for
Yeah.
dumping,
Yeah.
there'd be somebody
Yeah.
from Public Works.
Which is an advantage from what we have now, because right now people can leave us a jackpot
Right.
by dropping off whatever.
They do all the time.
Yes.
Right, so.
And the issue is with the carting service, it goes to a place that they grind it up, but it's very specific on what you can put in there. So like we tend to get fence posts, we tend to get weeds and dune grass that gets chopped up. That all has to be rejected. And I think that's too heavy of a lift to put on a volunteer, right? Because we can have ask a volunteer instead of working the cans and bottles
Right.
to go over there, but that's a heavy lift to put on a volunteer. Somebody has to be strong enough to say, this has to go, and that should be our paid staff, I think. Anything, Frida, you want to, is this open for somebody to
Please,
comment?
yeah, please, let's open up to the public
What I
then.
wanted to tell you, is back in the day,
With no grit yard, what the township used to do, and then it was usually just once in the fall, you lay your limbs that way, and they had a certain size restriction, and it got picked up and taken and whatever. And now with all the dead ash trees, you probably would need to do it in the spring. Because we can afford to buy our mulch, but people that don't have a truck can't get rid of their stuff,
Understood. The pickup system was talked about, and I know it used to happen here.
Right?
It just seems to be a great concern of safety.
Oh.
Putting the guys out there, because if we take it, I don't know where you live, but if we took it from a side street, we got to take it from Route 31. And
Oh,
we're just,
that's true.
I don't know how long ago East Amwell did that, but if you look now,
I've been here since 1980.
anybody working on the road now, what's typically behind the yellow trucks?
It's a different world.
We just don't have that kind of.
Yeah,
this is,
yeah.
And it would be completely unfair to ask our DPW guys to go
Yeah,
out
you
there in
can't
any
do it.
unsafe
You can't do it
environment.
from
But
one end to the other.
it's
I
not.
understand.
It's something that was talked about again.
Okay.
But with the world we're in today and the safety regulations and requirements, we just don't have a
Yeah,
truck with an
I
impact
totally
attenuator.
understand. I didn't think about that.
It might be fine on my side street, but definitely not on 31.
My side, it would be fine.
Yeah, but it's not safe.
Other members of the public that wish to give thoughts or anything on that? Okay, thank you for that. Comments or questions or?
I agree with Mike.
Was that out louder so Michelle can hear that? Somebody agrees with me.
Michelle, Mike did a great job investigating and proposing something.
So hear that? Somebody agrees with me.
So
Okay.
when would this, like, if we vote yes tonight, when does this happen?
I guess as soon as we want it to happen. I mean, some adequate notice. Jason's still we still have the pile we have to deal with, right? So we have the budget for that.
So two questions on the existing piles. So do we have piles now of items that need to be ground up?
Yes.
And how large is that? Is that larger than?
Large.
Or, yeah.
Our estimate on that is the same 12,000 we spent last year.
Yeah.
We'll probably have to budget that to get rid of what we have.
So if we did it this year, we'd pay 24,000 because we'd have
It's
to do
probably gonna
that
cost us-
plus
we gotta get
taking
rid of this
in.
pile now. Yeah, it's
Right.
gonna cost us.
But isn't that mulch?
So once we grind that mulch up, in the existing system we can't keep it for more than 6 months. So he's got a plan to
No.
get rid of it. So if
No,
we
no.
grind it,
So my question
Yeah.
is just, do we have mulch sitting there?
I don't know if we have anything left.
Okay. Well, that would be good since we're not supposed to, right, with DEP.
We're at the point of.
But
not
we have a
supposed to.
large amount now. So the next
We have a
question.
large amount of brush. I'm not sure how much mulch.
So the
but-
next question is, are we able to start accepting more brush? Or do we just have to get rid of what we have now with the carting and then go forward?
I think there needs to be a clean cutoff. Like the pile we have is the pile we have, including the brush on ground and the ground and the mulch we have. Jason tells me that getting rid of the mulch that we have and whatever we're going to come up with from this pile is the least of our problems. He thinks he can get rid of the mulch easily. He's got plenty of places to bring it.
Right, but the brush, let's just focus on the brush. So if we
New
have
brush or old brush?
the brush that's right there.
Okay.
Right, because what I'm thinking is, aren't we jammed up, right? If you're thinking of opening this up now to accept more in, and if we already have a huge pile, then we may not be able to service it or pay for it. So I wanted us to think through that.
So two things on that. Servicing it depends on where he puts the bins, like where he creates his bin. I'm not 100% sure where he's going to put that, but I think there's space up there to have the pile we have now and the bin and make the bin system. The bins could be moved with loaders pretty easy because they're just Jersey barriers. The expense is going to be the expense, right? So we have the expense that we have. We have to get rid of what we have no matter what we do.
Well, right now though, there's no violation of having brush on on premises, right? My understanding is
The
that
violation would be the grinding and the mulch.
right. So right now, if we have no mulch there now and we have a big pile of brush, so we don't have to get rid of it immediately. So I'm trying to figure out how to stage, right?
I'm listening. I hear you. Yep. So it's not two different operations, two different expenses, really.
I'm not sure.
And sorry, I thought the brush sitting there was an issue.
No, there seems to be.
Yeah.
My
I
understanding.
thought you said
No,
that was like we wanted to get this chipped and get it out of there like ASAP.
It's not.
I don't
No,
think
it's
so.
not
We
the
can
brush.
check, and the reason
Okay.
is the reason why it's a stormwater issue is when you have finely ground materials, that becomes a pollutant in the groundwaters and the surface waters. So if that gets into the streams, it's a problem for pollution on the DEP side. But if it's just brush sitting there and it's not getting into the stream, then I don't think we have that problem.
Okay.
But we can double check.
Yeah.
I thought there was a date that she talked about. We had to do this by March?
For the,
That's if we got the
Yeah,
extension.
that's
which we
for-
haven't gotten yet.
but
Okay.
that's for the mulch, I think. I don't think that's for brush.
Okay,
Again, because of the
I'm
theory,
in the
but
same
I'm
belief
not
as you.
right.
The
Okay.
brush and the mulch are two different
okay,
things.
okay,
All right.
okay.
And
We
the
just
issue
wanna
with the
make sure.
mulch is not so much
I'm not
the
sure,
mulch.
but I believe that that's the
Okay.
case.
I don't think it's so much the mulch; it's the residue from grinding the mulch that seems
Correct.
to be
Correct.
the bigger issue. But I'm not an expert in this.
No,
but-
that's right, because that's the finely ground items that they
Right.
consider pollution, because it harms.
So where's your thought process taken?
Well, so I like your proposal, I think it makes sense, but I'm thinking it may not be the 12,000 that you're imagining, because if we have to both take in the materials for the next 12 months and also grind up and cart that away to a pay-for disposal site, the cost may be much more. And so, for example, if we have a year's worth of brush sitting there, that it's actually, we're gonna incur 2 years worth of fees to get us to deal with everything now in 2025, I think.
So at some point in the immediate future, we have to stop taking brush the way we are. We
Well,
have to, like,
one option would be, I don't know whether folks are bringing brush now. I mean, it's pretty cold. I don't know
I
if people
agree.
are doing it. Maybe we don't do that until the end of the spring or something, when people have it. And
Okay.
maybe by that time, we will be able to cart away and pay for our existing pile.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but maybe as an approach, something like that.
No, I don't think that's a good approach. I agree with you. I don't think people are loading that place up, but I mean, I don't think that it's the middle of winter. Not a lot of people are doing yard cleanups and
Yeah, I wouldn't
landscaping
imagine
jobs
so.
and stuff like that. I don't
Right.
think.
It's not hospitable for it, and it's
No,
too wet in the woods. And
So you're thinking more, you're thinking it's gonna cost us more than I'm thinking, or you're thinking less?
No, I'm thinking for just what you described about taking in, you're right. But we have to think about the cost of dealing with the existing brush pile.
Right.
So maybe we don't take in any, I'm just as a straw man or a straw person on this, maybe we don't take in any waste, any of these approved types of waste until May 1st. And
Okay.
between now and then, maybe we use the carters to try to take down our pile. So
Okay.
that when folks are ready to do it at the, when they're done with spring cleanup, we will have reduced our issue, and then we're just doing it on the same
The only
schedule
thing,
you're saying.
so instead of grinding, you think we cart it now?
Yeah.
The only,
Because if
it's
we.
not a bad idea. The only thing I think about that is there's a good chance that pile's contaminated. So the labor intensity of pulling out the stuff that can go in the cart, in the container, could be significant.
Well, but don't we have that problem if someone's trying to grind it anyway? If it's contaminated, they can't grind it.
I think they
so-
grind up the dune grass and the dead flowers and everything. I think that stays in there. The only thing they pull out is like fence posts and stuff like that, I think. But this is, we could continue this out. I didn't foreshadow this.
Yeah.
I can definitely talk to him tomorrow and find out like how. So he's got options to either grind it or just have it carted away as is, right?
Yeah.
So we could let's look
And
at that.
think
Let
about
me
the
revisit
timing.
that. Yep.
I mean, if you want, what we can consider tonight is a motion to handle it this way going forward, and then find out the questions about when we start accepting again to do this, and what we do
Should
with
we
that.
consider though making a decision tonight to shut it down until
Yes,
we
I
clean
think.
this up?
Yeah, I think we should stop taking in any more and consider adopting what you've proposed. Then the only other items we'd have on the table would be, what do we do about the existing pile and how do we structure that? And then that can lead us into when this starts up.
Because I mean, I agree with you 100%. Because if we don't stop taking in,
Yeah. We're gonna
It's
be
only
just
gonna get
stuck.
worse.
We're just gonna be stuck. And I don't
and we
think
can't
people
take
have a
in
lot
and
now.
staff it right now because
Yeah.
it's the
It's
winter
cold
times.
and wet, and I don't think people are working outside, so I think this is actually the right time to try to deal with our past pile of the vegetative waste and get that down. And so maybe the motion is to start up what you've described, Mike, May 1st, and then we can approve that today if folks are agreeable, and then meanwhile, you'll do some research and talk with Jason about dealing with the pile, and we can decide
finding
that.
a more economic way to get rid of the pile.
Yeah, I think that's probably better, because as soon as you grind it, now we're under the clock, and now we've got an issue. And then we have to get rid of it by, what was the date, May something? Right, so we sort of created a
There's
problem.
extensions that was applied for, but we haven't heard that we even got it. So.
Yeah, so I think that sort of creates a problem that we don't need. And if there's another way to do it, then let's see if we can cart it away.
I think that's fair. Are you guys
That's a
all
good
right
point.
though with shutting it down?
I think
would
this
like
is,
to.
I think this is the right time to do it,
Yeah.
and we need to do something to address that pile so we can get onto this, because otherwise, we'll have nothing at all, because we can't afford $25,000 to get a fee that would allow us to grind anymore.
We can't afford that now.
Yeah.
That's not reasonable.
And we could try this out, right, and if it works well, we could continue. If it doesn't work, we could look for another alternative going forward, but I think what you researched, Mike, makes a lot of sense, and I think it's
I mean,
practical.
we
given what
pursued
have.
every angle there is, and economics plays a role in this, right? So, like, this is the most affordable way to provide a service, and that's what we have right now.
So I'd say, Mike, would you make a motion then for,
Yeah, how do, what do you,
For-
how do- let
would
me try to
be-
word this.
well, we have what you said, so we have that as the plan commencing May 1st of
Okay.
2025.
And then we should make a motion to stop collecting more brush right now
Yes,
until we reopen it to our new system.
until we open the new system, yep.
Is that language enough for you to work with, Linda?
All right,
So it's a motion to,
all right, well, let's restate it since
Go
you're
ahead.
struggling. All right, so, Mike, tell me if I'm right here. So, we would cease taking in brush right now. We would restart accepting brush May 1st, 2025. And at that time, we'd have a program where people would drop off and we would cart it to an appropriate vegetative waste disposal site. And we would have a DPW person staffing and regulating the acceptance of those materials.
That's the motion I'm going with.
Okay?
And hours to
I
be
second
determined,
that.
right?
All right, just,
I second that.
second,
Don't
Jenna?
they?
Yeah.
Hours to be determined?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
exactly.
We're
Schedule
looking at, like,
hours enough
yeah.
to, yeah, exactly, right.
Yes.
Yep. We have time between now and May 1st.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Just-
But I agree, we have to stop the bleeding now because we're not in compliance.
Yep.
So we have to
Right.
make a decision
And we think people want the service, so this is a way to try to get it for them, and we'll evaluate how it goes. So I appreciate
agree.
your work. I think this is making something out of nothing, really,
It's
so.
taken up a lot. I lose sleep over this stuff,
No.
believe it or not. Like, because I don't want to cut the service,
Yeah.
but I don't know another way we can do it.
Right.
With Jason and I reviewed every possible scenario, and a lot of them are a lot more expensive. So.
Agreed. All right, may I have a second to that motion from someone?
Second.
All right, second from Bev. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. All right, thank you for that discussion. And Mike, thank you so much for that work and for working with Jason as well. Okay, we're up to standing committee reports. We have a number of appointments. I'll read through those quickly. You have the details in the agenda, but appointment of Beth Hussein, Planning Board, appointment of Nicole Cannon, Parks and Rec, appointment of Mike Petrus, Parks and Rec, appointment of Jessica Crolio, Environmental Commission, appointment of Jeff Gates, Environmental Commission, appointment of Joe Wolfgang, Environmental Commission. May I have a motion for appointments?
So moved?
May I have a second?
I can second that.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Abstentions? None. Okay, carries unanimously. Okay, up to item 10 in the agenda, ordinance number 25-2, second reading adoption. Linda, if you could read that by title, please.
an ordinance amending the municipal code of the Township of East Amwell, Chapter 35, salaries and compensation.
Thanks, Linda. So this ordinance, as folks will recall, will amend the $25 per hour salary set for clerical staff for the rabies clinic. It would change it to $35 per hour, and that would mean that employees are not making less than their regular salaries when they come into work on that Saturday for the rabies clinic. Incidentally, the rabies fees pay for that service. It's not a cost to the township. Also note, clinic's hours have been decreased to 2 hours, and the funds come from dog licensing fees, not taxpayer funds. Also, this ordinance omitted some of the minimum wages for some positions and adjusted the salary range on the superintendent of DPW. Okay, so we are now open to the public on this ordinance. Any comments? Going once, going twice. Okay, seeing none, we're closed to the public. May I have a motion to adopt the ordinance?
So moved?
Thank you.
Second?
Seconded.
Ms.
Linda?
Casper Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Enton?
Yes.
Mr. Nardi?
Yes.
Mr. Dendis?
Yes.
Mayor DePiero?
Yes. Okay, item 11 on the agenda, ordinance 25-3, first reading introduction. Linda, if you'd read that, please.
An ordinance of the Township of East Amwell, County of Hunterdon, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 106, Section 3-2 of the Code of the Township of East Amwell entitled Parks and Recreation Facilities, Use of Facilities, and Article 1 entitled Miscellaneous Fees, Chapter 75 Fees, Section 1A-1, Event Fees and Miscellaneous Fees.
Okay, this ordinance would raise the fee to rent the pavilion at Clausen Park. This would make the fees more in line with other municipalities. Current fee is $50 to rent the pavilion. It's for an unlimited amount of hours. This ordinance would amend the fee to $50 for the first 4 hours, and there would be an additional $25 per hour for each additional hour above 4 hours. Al or Linda, did you guys want
Yeah,
to say
no,
anything
that's,
more?
that's perfect, because we've had on occasion people renting the park all day long for $50, and other residents or other folk couldn't get in.
Unable
So
to
this,
use.
we think this is more fair. We might create a little bit more revenue. I mean, it's $25 an hour.
But I'm looking at like 2 families might be able to get to use it in the same day.
Correct.
Am I correct?
Versus one.
It's booked all summer, right?
Yes.
For the most
It
part?
is, and there's some times where someone will rent it from 9 in the morning till 8 at night.
Right.
For
So,
$50.
I think,
Right, and it's, then another family can't use it.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
plus I
totally
think
makes
this will
sense,
narrow
yeah.
down the time that they're actually, like, they may be just saying they need it for 6 hours when they only need it for 3.
right.
But if they have to pay for the extra hours,
No,
then
Yeah,
makes sense.
we may
yeah.
get more people.
It's just been something I've heard about for a while that I'm glad that, we're doing it.
Good. Well, thanks to you, Al, and Linda, for queuing that up. May I have a motion to introduce the ordinance?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All right, second by Bev. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, so we're up to item 12, Linda, do I have that right?
Yep.
Okay, 12 on the agenda, ordinance 25-4, first reading introduction. If you'd read that by title, please.
An ordinance of the Township of East Amwell, County of Hunterdon, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 29, Section 3 of the Code of Township of East Amwell, entitled Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, Composition of Members.
Okay, I'll give a quickie and then turn over to Jennifer Moore. This ordinance is being amended to allow non-residents to volunteer on Parks and Rec. In particular, Jennifer, would you like to speak to
Yeah,
that, please?
so it was brought to our attention that we had some members, someone that joined Parks and Rec that don't live in East Amwell. I think we all know how hard it is to get volunteers here. And it is the Parks and Rec Committee. It's not like it's the planning board. And also, as people are probably aware, there are choice kids that go to our school, so they've come from different nearby towns like Delaware and West Amwell and stuff, and those parents really want to be involved and have some ideas for what East Amwell could do for Parks and Rec. So after speaking with the chair, we thought it was a good idea to allow for more volunteers this way.
Sure. Seems like it makes sense, still serves the purpose of what the committee's trying to achieve. May I have a motion to introduce that ordinance?
So moved.
Thank you. A
I can
second.
second it.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, carries unanimously. Item 13 on the agenda, consent agenda. So we have items 2025-46 through 2025-55. Does anyone have a question about any of these before we move them? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the resolutions?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I can second it.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Ms. Casper Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Enton?
Yes.
Mr. Nardi?
Yes.
Mr. Dendis?
Yes.
Mayor DePiero?
Yes. Okay, item 14 on the agenda, we have a number of other resolutions. We'll start with 2025-56, resolution to support publishing legal notices on official government websites. So, as folks I'm sure know, right now, it's a legal requirement that we publish in newspapers. Newspapers, hard copy newspapers are going away. Most of the services are going electronic. So there's some legislation out there now that would permit municipalities to put their legal notices in electronic news services and places. So this resolution would support that legislation to authorize local governments to be able to publish legal notices on the municipality's website. So it's a place where people would know to look, would save time, resources, and taxpayer dollars by not having to transmit or publish legal ads in the newspaper. Hunterdon County Democrat would no longer be printing after the end of February. So we just live in a different sort of environment right now.
That's true, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Star Ledger and
Trend
the
Times.
whole
Yeah.
Trend Times.
Yeah.
It's just the way things are going. So it seems to me that, having notices on the municipality's website, that's where folks would look anyway for notices, so. So may I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved?
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you.
Ms.
Linda?
Casper Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Enton?
Yes.
Mr. Nardi?
Yes.
Mr. Dendis?
Yes.
Mayor DePiero?
Yes. Resolution 2025-57, resolution authorizing settlement of 2025 tax appeal. This relates to 12 Rocktown Hill Road. The resolution would need to be adopted in order for our tax appeal attorney to enter into a stipulation of settlement with the taxpayer and file it with the court. And this really amounts to a correction of errors in the tax appeal. There's a process where if errors were made, corrections can be made in this fashion. And to do that, we need to approve a resolution. Our tax professional has advised us that this is appropriate, both in substance and form for us to do. Anyone have questions about that? I know you've read the materials. May I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved?
Thank you. The second?
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Linda?
Ms. Casper Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Enton?
Yes.
Mr. Nardi?
Yes.
Mr. Dendis?
Yes.
Mayor DePiero?
Yes. Resolution 2025-58, resolution to certify additional 2024 funds for Special Affordable Housing Council. This resolution will increase the not to exceed amount that we have when we hire professionals. We do it by means of a resolution and contract that have not to exceed amounts. If it turns out that the professional has ended up using more services at our request, we have to adjust by resolution the not to exceed amounts. If this resolution is for a minor amount, it would allow us to pay the remainder of the invoices for 2024. And in particular, I'd note that Affordable Housing Council was required because of state mandated round 4 affordable housing obligations that have required us to use our professionals. Any questions about this one? No. May I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Casper Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Enton?
Yes.
Mr. Nardi?
Yes.
Mr. Dendis?
Yes.
Mayor DePiero?
Yes. Okay, 2025-59, resolution to certify additional 2024 funds for a tax appeal attorney. Same situation here. This is it's going to increase the not to exceed amount for our tax appeal attorney. And this is by virtue of tax appeals that had to be handled during 2024. Questions? There's a music and support. May I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second?
A second. Linda?
Ms. Casper Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Enton?
Yes.
Mr. Nardi?
Yes.
Mr. Dendis?
Yes.
Mayor DePiero?
Yes. Resolution 2025-60, resolution supporting the designation of the Sarowlands as an area of critical state concern. As I said earlier, Sarowlands is a very important resource in our town and in our surrounding towns. The state's proposing revisions to the state plan, which gives us an opportunity to ask that the region be designated as a special resource area or area of critical state concern. And that will help get more funds for protecting the area, may help reforestation, may help other protective efforts. May I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Al.
You're welcome.
Ms. Casper Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Enton?
Yes.
Mr. Nardi?
Yes.
Mr. Dendis?
Yes.
Mayor DePiero?
Yes. 2025-61, resolution in support of the creation of a pilot program to mitigate a credible threat from errant drones. Folks will recall that in our last meeting, there was concern because our federal officials were trying to identify drones out there and to determine whether they presented safety risk. There's federal legislation that's now been proposed that would create a pilot program that would allow state entities to have a greater role in dealing with a credible threat from errant drones. And New Jersey entities, we would ask, would be part of that program. This is important because right now drones are a federal concern, and so the state authorities don't have a role. And so making sure our state has the opportunity to have a role and have a pilot where more authority is given would benefit our residents, because we want to make sure our residents remain safe. Questions? May I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
I can second it.
Thank you.
Ms. Casper Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Enton?
Yes.
Mr. Nardi?
Yes.
Mr. Dendis?
Yes.
Mayor DePiero?
Yes. Item 15, any of you have new business we haven't raised so far?
Yeah, I
Please.
finished the grant for the shade canopy for the park. Also attended a meeting with Historical Preservation regarding Revolution 250. I spoke to the mayor of Flemington this week or last week, and I'll be meeting with her and her entourage the first Saturday of March. So things are on the move. Still looking for somebody's horse so I can ride it in the parade.
That's always a good job.
Yeah.
Anything in particular on the shade canopy you share at this
Submitted
time?
the grant to the state, and
Okay.
fingers crossed.
Great.
I think we're working on also, you want to go?
There you go.
New business, we're working on it, I don't know if it's been submitted yet, but a grant for generator for the municipal building. I don't know if that's in yet or not.
No, it doesn't have to go until
But
March
he's working
2nd.
through it, and there's some, you and I emailed back and forth on it, so that's out there. Maybe,
Good,
I
good.
just wanted to recognize the East Amwell boys middle school basketball team. They won their championship,
Wow.
middle school championship.
Oh, that's
B
great.
bracket, not A
Congratulations.
bracket, but it's still a championship.
All right.
And
Good.
so I figured that's a place to bring that up. So thanks to
Yeah,
them.
it's
It was
exciting.
exciting. Good stuff, right? They won a soccer championship and a basketball championship.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
So
Great.
that's good stuff. How about the girls? You got anything to add on that?
They had a good season. Enjoy going to the games and watching the girls play.
All right, there you go. No, that's all I got.
Good, thank you. Thanks for both of you for your work on those things. Item 16.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I had some.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes,
No, it's
Jenna.
okay.
You just want to be thanked, too. Thank you, Jenna. Thank you for working on this.
No, I did want to thank Frank for his hard work on getting the courts worked out, because as we know, maybe the town doesn't know, East Amwell is really a joint court. There's a lot of there's about 4 towns, right? With our court. There's a lot of moving pieces. We created a joint court, another court came on, so Frank's been working really hard to get that court down to an easy contract we can all,
We're still working on it.
yeah, understand we're getting there. And then did you want to touch on our, speaking of grants, did you want to touch on our meeting today when we, I think people know that we were approved for a grant for North Hill Road, a significant grant of $350,000. So Dante and I were out there with our town engineer, Rob, and our DPW, Jason, to really look at the road, see what it really needs, so that we can kind of, we want to preserve it in what East Amwell is and how that road is, but it is a lot of money from the state, so we want to make sure we're using that most effectively. So we kind of started the process of that and came up with some good ideas, so hopefully we'll have an update on that soon.
Yep, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks for your work on that, too. Other items folks want to raise? Okay, thank you for all that. Item 16 on the agenda, approval of bills. May I have a motion to approve the bill list?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously carried. Approval of administrative reports. May I have a motion to approve the administrative reports?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Carries unanimously. Correspondence, folks can review the things that Linda's put out.
Let me go back to the,
Please.
I guess, DPW, this is an opportunity to thank them for their hard work, obviously. You guys know that, I don't know, we have 3 storms, I guess, the last couple of weeks. They've been out salting and plowing, so that's much appreciated. And my 20-plus years here, I've never heard a complaint about the road. Not 20-plus years on this committee, but living in town. Our roads have been great, and I think that still holds true.
Agreed.
Sorry. go back.
No, it's good. No, thank you for remembering to mention that. Any other items before we go to open to the public? Seeing none, we're open to the public at this time. Yes, Frida?
Those of you who have seen me at a planning board meeting know that I constantly harp on dark skies and the lighting ordinance and whatever. And I just, when I accidentally opened YouTube and made noise, was going into the East Hamwell School, and they actually have on the bottom of their homepage, Dark Sky, Bring Back the Night and stuff. And you guys have some wonderful literature out here in the lobby. If that could be budgeted to mail out, because the people that I know close to where I live, they're all new. And one of them, I even moved from Linville Road to Worsfield Road, and when I told her about Dark Skies and stuff, she was amenable, but that she's got string lighting up at night, and I think it's, people don't think about it, and the lights that are now, because of being LED and stuff like that, people don't worry about how much it costs. So I think education of the public would be great.
Yeah, you make a good point on LED lights. So, as we've mentioned before, we are getting ready to roll out more education materials and put them on the website to further education on dark skies issues, so that folks know what the issues are and what they can do about that. So I appreciate your comment in that respect. Other comments from the public? Ethan, do you? Yes, please.
Ethan Stanley from the squad. Just a quick update from the squad. We answered 100% of first calls for our committed times in 2024 and so far in 2025. And starting in March, we're going to be adding Sunday overnights to our committed times as part of our growth plan. We also have a new EMT graduate who has started his clearing process, and we've cleared another EMT. And then, since you're not doing the cleanup day as decided tonight, I was wondering, as part of your electronics disposal day, if the squad could be part of is it quarterly? Do you do the electronics day?
No,
Or
every
is it
first
6 months?
Saturday of the month is regular recycling.
Okay.
What do you guys want to do, a clothing bin or something?
Yeah, is it possible to be part of that? Like, we could every so often.
I'm
not
sure we
see
could
why
do
not.
that,
Yeah, I
yeah.
don't-
I mean, do you think it should be, first of the month, just have them pick first of the month times or something, and? 'cause
How do
we-
you guys collect clothing now? You have a bin, or like, what do you do?
Yeah, we have a bin at our station, and people are welcome to come drop
Yeah.
off whenever they want. And what we would do is we can bring our trailer and just stay there.
Yeah,
we
I
collect
don't
it and-
see why that's no problem at all. I mean,
Yeah. And it's completely up to you. We would handle all the logistics and stuff, and we wouldn't
Yeah.
do it every
so regular
often.
recycling is every first Saturday of the month. That's
Okay.
on the website. We probably see about 100 people.
Okay.
They may have clothing to get rid of as they start to see you there every weekend.
Mhm.
I see no reason why we can't do this. I mean, it's a good thing. Clothes are getting recycled.
School does it too.
School does it. Yeah, school does it. The only pushback I could see somebody say is, "Why are you getting money from this? Is the squad?"
Yeah, we do it as a fundraiser.
But it's a not-for-profit, and it's
Yep.
the rescue squad, so it's not. It's not going to a business. So even if somebody pushed back on why you're letting them do that, well, that's explainable, isn't it? I think it's generating money for the squad, and it's a free service. So I have no problems with it at all. And I think it's just it'll probably take you could come this Saturday, but nobody's going to know you're there. You're like, I don't know if there's a way we can advertise that ahead.
We would communicate when we're going to be there and stuff like that, so we can definitely work that out.
Yeah,
I mean, the notion sounds good. Maybe we'll just have ask Frank to do a legal review for us and just make sure we're not excluding any folks or not opening up in a way that's.
Yeah, the only thing I would foresee is another agency come and say, "Why do you let them and not us?" And,
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think I just kind of explained it right here.
So why don't you let us think about that? But I mean,
Absolutely.
we obviously want to support community work and the work that you do in particular. So we'll think about that and see if there are any issue we haven't thought of right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. I
Yep,
appreciate
thank
it.
you. And thanks for the update. Okay, any other comments? Yes. Andrea?
Andrea Bonnet. I've got two things that make me very grumpy, and one of them is our wonderful Congressman Tom Kane Jr., who sends me an email every couple of weeks talking about all the great things he's doing. And he's voted for something called the Protecting American Energy Act. Doesn't that sound great? I mean, you'd think solar, wind, geothermal. No. It's about fracking. So I would just suggest you look at the Protecting American Energy Production Act and see what you think of it. Second thing has to do with tax equity, which I'm a little puzzled about. I got my tax notice. I have 6 acres, a little over 6 acres, which is appraised at $189,000. I have a neighbor who has 18 acres. That's 3 times as much as I do. And the neighbor is appraised at $137,000, which doesn't make any sense to me. I did discuss this briefly with the tax assessor, and I'm going to pursue it a little bit more. Then I just found out there's a half-acre lot on Rileyville Road that's assessed at something like $170,000. I mean, almost as much as mine. It's crazy. So I don't know who's, I know we have a new tax assessor, and he was very helpful to me. I mean, I'm not trying to criticize him, but something needs to be looked at. But my big thing is about a hypothetical 18-acre lot, which I am not going to identify, but just a brief history, which I wrote down so I wouldn't talk too long. December 1999, a conservation easement was donated to DNR Greenway, followed by their annual inspection with reports provided to the landowner. At the original agreement in December 1999, a DNR survey shows 1 house, 1 barn, 1 shed or chicken coop, and 1 outhouse. Then we get to August 2005. The barn, coop, and outhouse were demolished by Gilbert Frank with a permit and approved and inspected and all that. And so the only building remaining is the house. Spring 2016, the house with the 18 acres is sold to the current owner. February 2020, the house burns to the ground. So there are now no buildings on the property. October 2020, demolition of the house with the proper permits and approval and so forth. Now, sometime in 2021, a small cottage was built on this property. I thought at the time there were no zoning permits. Turns out there was a zoning permit at some point signed by our clerk and zoning officer. But it said it was approval to convert a barn into a house. Of course, there was no barn, so that was a little iffy. Under the condition that the house must be rebuilt on the same footprint, not deviating from the existing house prior to the fire. And this building is quite far removed from the original site, so it's not really abiding by the zoning ordinance. As of today, there is no record of any construction, electrical, or plumbing permits, inspections, or approvals. And the property records, as recently as January 1st of this year, shows photos of the original house, the township record, and the original house burned down in 2020. So there's some updating needs to be done there. So I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, please, come on up.
No, go ahead.
He likes to be last. Oh, really? Stop reading.
I saw her raise her hand first, so she's got the floor. Welcome. Hi.
My name is Linda McDonald. This is my first time doing this. So I was interested in starting a cottage food business out of my home. I have a 4.5-acre home, and I contacted Tammy, I believe her name was, and she said that there's not really allowed here in East Amwell. And I explained to her that actually it is state allowed, but what can I do to make this happen? I was very excited about this exam that I took about a few weeks ago, which allowed me to have a food protection manager certificate, which allowed me to cook from home. I'm a baker. When I say baker, I was a home baker for my family, for friends and neighbors. I love baking. This is something that I've always wanted to do. I am originally from France, and I'm a little nervous. Yeah, I don't really speak in front of people.
You're doing great. Don't worry. You're doing fine.
And so I want to do everything right. I want to, follow the laws, and do what's right for the community. And So I'm really hoping that maybe any of you can help me if there's something we can do as far as revising the ordinance, and maybe which will allow maybe limited food cottage licenses on case-by-case basis. So that's what I'm pleading today here.
So you said that the uses are permitted by the state? Could you
It
tell-
is.
so-
It is. It was, I believe, in 2021, the state of New Jersey allows cottage food businesses to for people in the state of New Jersey, which is, I believe, overseen by the health department. And I did contact the health department here in Trenton, and they told me, well, first, go get that certificate. So in order to get that certificate, you have to take a course, and then take the exam, pass the exam. Then they said to me, submit your water. It has, your water has to be tested, which I did. But then they said, does your township allows food cottage? And I was like, oh, I don't know. So that's when I called, and Tammy told me, well, we don't allow it. I think that she mentioned that there was another person who was interested in that. But she said, listen, go present your case to the board and see if there's something we can do about it.
So let me see if I understand. You spoke with the zoning officer?
Yes.
I see. So probably the board that she's referring to is not the township committee. Maybe it's the planning board.
No, she said this one. She actually gave me the date, the location, and everything.
Frank, are you familiar with this situation, or?
A couple meetings ago, we had someone come and speak on this
Yep.
issue, and Lambertville passed an ordinance of similar nature not too long ago to allow the cottage food. I think it's something this committee would have to approve by ordinance. I can certainly get the ordinance from Lambertville to show you what's involved, but as she says, in order for her to go forward to get the state license, she has to provide the state with proof that the local municipality allows her to do this activity, and then she can go ahead and comply with whatever the state requirements are. But she can't do that unless the town specifically passes an ordinance to that effect. So it's a decision the committee has to make whether or not you support the home cottage food industry in
Is
general.
this where somebody should start here with this committee, or should they start with like Board of Health or something?
They can come from anywhere, but
Okay.
ultimately it's going to have to end up before this committee.
I feel like this is a trend, right, in New Jersey. I feel
It
like
is.
I've read
I think
about
it's
this.
everywhere, yeah. And I would like to serve this community. I was just looking around sometimes, we want to go out for good bakes, goods, and it's very difficult to find something here. So it's something that I like to do, also to be part of the community and maybe offering what I love to my neighbors, to the locals here in East Amwell, and just maybe make East Amwell like a town like Lambertville. People go for local food in Lambertville, they go to Hopewell. So it would be nice if we can have this here in East Amwell as well.
Okay.
And I have also, if you need some more detailed information about the state laws, what it says about the food cottage businesses, I printed some codes and information here if you'd like to see
Maybe you
that.
could leave that with our township attorney. And so Frank, is this something that ought to be vetted, like Mike's saying, by Board of Health first to get information more, or is this something that?
I think it's something, if you're going to propose an ordinance, you would want input from those different boards.
Yeah, would it be?
I just emailed you all a copy of the ordinance that was passed by Lambertville, so you can look at it. That's what we would have to do, and we could have the other boards weigh in on it, the Board of Health, et cetera.
And with planning board as well? I mean, what are the relevant ones?
Sure.
I mean, one
Board
thing
of
that
Health,
jumps
right.
out to me in something like this is our existing commercial businesses that are already selling product, right? So they established a business here, and we would be changing an ordinance that's going to compete with them. So I'd
It's
like
a
to
little-
hear what that looks like.
Yeah, it's a little different because I'll be baking out of my home, and I'll be using my own kitchen, and it will be something different, a new product. And the fact that the state has already allowed it, I don't see why. I mean, I'm a taxpayer. I wouldn't see why not allow a residence to do that if it's already allowed by the state.
Well,
And
does
I'm-
the state inspect, like, you know how states
So for
inspect
cottage-
restaurants and
no.
things? Well,
So
how does
for-
it work with cottage?
It's a little different for cottage food businesses. So the state does not inspect, and that's why you have to go out and get that certificate and take the training and pass the exam in order to do that. And then there's some type of guidance as far as what to put in the labels of your product. I already sell at the Trenton Farmers Market. I used to be a vendor there. People know me, and I'd like to keep doing that, offering my baked goods as well. So yeah, there is some type of guidelines and regulations by the state, the health state department that you have to follow, and they do come and inspect you. So not in your home, because they don't do that, but they do inspect your product when you're about to sell it. They have to come and make sure everything looks good, that you are following the guidelines as far as what ingredients you're using, and I have to submit everything to them. So when the Township of East Amwell approves me that I'm allowed to do that, then I submit my whole file over to the health department in Trenton with my ingredients, all of the food that I'll be preparing. It's very specific what they want. They want what ingredients you're using, what are allergens, where you're located. I have to provide my certificate, I have to provide my license, and then from that point, they'll be able to provide me with a permit that allows me to sell. So there's a lot of the steps that I have to do, but I'm stuck here.
Well, and
That's
do
the
you-
only.
And just one final question before we sort of think about what our process might be. Are you permitted, are people permitted to go to your house to pick up things?
No. No.
And so where would
So
you
would
sell them?
so for example, I could have a stand, but it wouldn't be a business where people can come like a farm, where they come in and it's a boutique. It's not like that. My goal for me, as I don't know about the other person, what they want to do, but for me, is to be able to sell at the farmer's market. So I'm trying to get in touch with different farmers market around here, but that's my goal.
So right now, you can't just bake a pie in your oven and sell it at a farmer's
You
market?
could, you
Yeah,
could, but it's
you
not
won't have
lawful.
the state
Yeah.
approval,
Yeah,
because if she gets the state license, when she sells the product,
Yeah.
it's then manufactured in an approved kitchen, essentially.
Exactly.
You can bake at home and sell it,
Even though they don't inspect it?
even though they don't inspect it, but if you want to have that seal of approval,
I
we'll
see.
call it, you
and
get the state
to be more
license.
legit, and that's what I want to do. I want to become legit. There are a lot of people who do that through Facebook. I don't know if you're familiar with Facebook. People sell items.
Sure.
They are not certified. They're just, and I don't want to do that. I want to do what's right, and I want to follow the law. So that's why I'm hoping.
Does the state have like regulations that govern how the sales happen? Like, does it say, for example, no selling from your cottage?
No.
So
I
that would
don't
have to
know.
be in an ordinance if we did an ordinance.
Well, the same rules would apply to the use of the property for sales.
Mhm.
They can't turn it into a business,
Right.
and they'd have, the permitting process that you're implementing is really it.
And there's also a limitation on how much money you can make. So I think it's $10,000 a year. You cannot go above that. Otherwise, you're going to have to go back and request another type of licensing and permits.
So I don't know about the state law yet, but I used to own two different restaurants, and they constant inspections. Like water had to be inspected,
Right.
refrigerations. The county did health inspections. The state did different inspections. Like, how would somebody know that you're keeping your refrigeration at a certain temperature?
You're not supposed to be cooking anything that is TCS products.
How do you do a baked good without
So
dairy, like eggs?
baked is different. So they give you a list. For example, here
guess
they
eggs
tell
are
you
not
what is.
refrigerated?
Well, it clearly states that you
I'm not
cannot.
eating your eggs.
Yeah, you cannot use any non TCS. So any TCS product is product that has to be kept in a temperature control environment. So any product that needs to be under that standard, you cannot use. So for example, if I was to bake sourdough bread, that's not a problem because you don't have to keep it in the fridge or in the heat. But let's say if I was going to bake lasagna, I'm not allowed to because you have to keep it in some type of temperature control environment. They're very strict. So that's why when I would submit the file over to the health department, I have to exactly say what am I selling, what are the ingredients, and then when I'm about to sell it, they'll come and inspect my product and make sure that it is not a TCS product that I'm offering to the public.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any water? Does the state require like water testing?
Yeah. So the water, that's why I had to submit my water. So my water was sent to the lab, and then I got a report, which I sent to the health department.
And you're required to keep these records with the oversight is the state only?
Everything is with the state.
So
Yeah.
no local board of health, no county board of health?
I don't know. I think
Just
it's
county board of
Health
health
Department.
on
Yeah.
cottage?
Yeah.
Did I know that?
If you look at the ordinance from Lambertville, it has it laid
Yeah.
out in there.
Okay.
I was just gonna say that it's right, they have to have the Hunterdon County Health Department has to come in and examine them, or do a site
Does
visit
this,
or
how,
whatever.
are you seeing this a lot, I guess, where towns are?
It's happening. I mean,
Yeah.
as I said, it happened right next door to us in Lambertville.
How
So
can
does the conversation start here, or should we?
Well, I was just gonna say, first of all, do we want to explore this by sending it to some of our committees? Or do folks have no interest?
I'm open to listening to what a resident wants, but I have a lot of
Well, I mean,
questions.
to me, it's gonna be a big issue already, because we know nothing about it, so I would say if we would be willing to think about it, then we should send it to the Board of Health and
I think
the
it
Planning
has to
Board.
start at the board.
Some of that's been done.
Has?
If you like, I could fill you in.
Please, yeah, please.
Are you the other person?
I'm not the other person.
Oh, okay. I was like, please join me.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm not familiar with
The
this.
other person was talking about selling out of their
Yes.
house,
Right.
wasn't he?
Yeah, the zoning had an issue with people coming to the house.
Right.
Yes.
See, that's why I was asking whether this was.
We're not-
question.
We're not approving
Oh, you
home
are?
business sales.
No, because we don't want
That's a
people coming and
zoning
going.
issue.
So go ahead, Rick, thank you.
So, this is a
Just
bifurcated.
get into the microphone, not pushing you out of the
No.
way. You need
This,
the microphone.
this is a bifurcated issue. There is a health issue and there is a zoning issue. On the health issue, the Board of Health, I discussed this with Tracy Carluccio after the last gentleman came in. The Board of Health has an ordinance in place that tracks the state's ordinance verbatim. We adopted the state ordinance, which means if you get licensed by the state, you satisfy our ordinance. So the notion that our health ordinances prohibit this, that's not correct. Our health ordinances actually permit it. Now there's the zoning component, which is, do our zoning ordinances allow someone to do this, to conduct this type of operation, business in their home? In order to get the state to license you, you have to be able to demonstrate to the state that the zoning ordinance in your municipality allows you to do this. Our existing zoning ordinance, as far as I know, does not allow this type of home business. We do have a relatively narrow home business zoning ordinance. It doesn't allow this type of business. Now, if you're going to go down the road of the ordinance, then what you all said earlier is correct, which is that starts with the planning board. Do they want to change our ordinances to allow these types of home businesses in residential areas? And that's complicated because then you have to say, what are these types of businesses? If you're just baking in your home and taking it to farmers markets, that's one thing. If you're baking in your home and selling out of your home, you're now operating a real business in a residential area. That's a different thing. And if you allow the former, do we have the resources to enforce when somebody says to you, I'm only baking to take off-site to sell, and they're selling out of their home? And neighbors start complaining that they're conducting a business. So our health ordinances don't prohibit this. From what Tracy told me, our ordinance tracks the state exactly. Our zoning ordinances do not allow it.
And I think that's the problem the other gentleman ran into was the zoning. He never got past zoning.
Correct. And so the question is, do you want to change the zoning ordinance to allow these types of businesses? And as your instincts were telling you earlier, that is a planning board issue, not a township committee issue. Ultimately, if the planning board wants to change the zoning ordinance, it comes to the township committee for approval, but it starts at the planning board. The Board of Health, as far as I know, there's no issue. We can confirm that with Tracy, but I discussed this after the last gentleman came in.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah,
That helps.
no, thanks.
Thank you for clarification.
okay,
So apparently, so it's the zoning. So what I'm offering, maybe one of you can help me with this. Like I said, this is my first time doing this, so I'm not really familiar with the laws about codes and ordinance. But if maybe we can do a revised ordinance, and like I said earlier, which maybe would allow limited food cottages licensing and case-by-case basis. Like I said, my goal is to be able to sell at farmers market. That's what I'm hoping for. My husband and I, we have 2 children. One is in college, and I would like to be able to participate in helping with the payment of college fees, which, as you know, it's very expensive. And I want to do this right. I don't want to do like some people do, where they just bake and sell behind closed doors. I really want to follow the laws and the regulations. So I'm really hoping that maybe one of you can assist me or maybe guide me or what needs to be done in order for this to happen for me.
So just for your purposes, answering your question, so it seems like what we would do is send this to the planning board to consider what, in their expertise, whether they think this is something that the town should consider in terms of the type of uses that we allow in the zoning. And then if they decide that it is something they'd like to do, they will then let us know, and there might be something that we act on. So when we send it to the planning board, they'll put out a notice and let you know that there'll be a discussion. So the opportunity for you to speak on the issue will be at a planning board meeting when they're looking at, as Mr. Wolf was describing, the uses that we allow right now and whether there should be an extension. Does that make sense?
And so what's the process for that? Should I give my contact information and I'll be contacted?
No, so you can just look for a notice. I mean, you're welcome to give us your information, but when the planning board puts it on the agenda, it'll be put out on the township's website.
Okay.
Then say the agenda for planning board, and you'll see an item discussion of, cottage food industry or whatever.
Sounds
So
good.
we, meaning this committee, is going to send it to the planning board to look at?
Correct.
Okay, so she doesn't have to do that?
Correct.
Okay.
And so would I assume that this will be on the agenda for the next planning board?
No, you can't assume that.
So how does this work?
Tuesday.
So, I mean, it's just this. We're going to notify the planning board chair that this is an issue that's come to our attention and ask them to look into it. They'll have to deal with scheduling. They have lots of applications and things, but that's where you'll see notice of it. And, you're welcome to come to the very next planning board meeting.
Okay.
And in any event, tell them of your interest in this issue in case they don't have it on the agenda. Does that make sense?
Okay.
The
So
planning
pretty
board
much
meets, what, third Tuesday
Yeah,
now
it'll be,
of the month?
this coming Tuesday?
this coming
It is.
Tuesday?
Yeah,
But
Tuesday at 7 o'clock.
The agenda's already out.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all on our website, too. If you go to our website, you can see the schedule.
For the planning board?
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Maybe
but
once a month.
But I don't assume that next week they're going to start talking about that,
They
right?
will.
I
They
most
won't.
likely no, right?
There's
Okay.
no way, because they've had to put out their agenda. But
Okay.
like I said, you can go there and tell them of your interest if you'd like, but really, they would be looking to put it on the agenda following that.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for
You're
listening to me.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yes, good night.
My two sentences became 3.
An alternative for her, which would be faster and easier, would just be to apply for a use variance. Just for her. You wouldn't have to change the ordinance at all. And that's sentence number 1. Number 2 is I want to thank you guys for the wonderful job you're doing. And number 3, as you guys all know, I come and go, and I'm just mind-boggled at the efficiency, the speed, everything that's going on here. I was so pleased that I came tonight, even though the agenda looked like it was a nothing night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other comments from the public? Yes. Francis?
They're moving slower. Francis Gavigan. I should have said something earlier, but after all of these years with Pam retiring, I think that it would be a nice thing if you did a resolution and a certificate or awarded her or some kind of thank you. When Carl Paselt left and stopped volunteering and things like that, you did one. You did something, I think, in the years past with Terry. And Pam has been a fixture here for the whole time that I've been here, and a little bit more than a fare thee well, I think would be justified, because she'd be the one that would open up the park. And I don't know if there's any kind of a party or gift registry or whatever. That would be useful information. I can come in and talk to her myself, but I really do think that we need to acknowledge her service, and either you do it, you award it at maybe next month's meeting or something like that, but and then she can choose whether or not she'd want to come here and be embarrassed, because she's very shy. But I think she does deserve an honor and a formal recognition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully
A long
that,
time ago, when Pat Krieger retired, in addition to whatever there was an actual dinner somewhere that the people that knew her very well and appreciated paid and went, and she was there. I went.
yeah, and something, a cake, whatever. But I mean, she really does deserve something. And with all of the stuff that she's put through, and she's as beloved in the township as Terry was. And, her leaving is good for her and our loss. And I hope you've found somebody to at least start soon and take her position, so it's not just Linda in there. But,
Thank
thank you, Pam. The licensing will never be the same.
February 28th is her last day.
February 28th. Okay, seeing no other comments, we are, without objection, closed to the public. Any other matters for consideration?
Sir,
There being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for your work. Thanks for a good meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.